Ladies and gentlemen, this session is basically known as the CEO's panel discussion. We have Juzar Khorakiwala, the chairperson of BASAI. We also have with us Dr. K.C. Ravi, chairperson of CropLife India. And we also have Mr. John Peter, the vice president of BIPA. A warm welcome to all of you, sir. Thank you very much for gracing the occasion. I would it's an interactive session, sir. So I'd just like to start with my own chair, if everybody permits. Juzar Sahab, I would the question is posed to all three of you. You can go one by one. I'd just like to understand that as an organization's head, we've now it's very difficult to categorize each association that this is a chemical association, this is a biological association, because everything is being mixed up by we've got companies, members who are also into chemicals and also into biologicals. So, sirs, in your opinion, very briefly, what makes you, what kind of vision do you have on biologicals, and what kind of things that you believe that need to be catered by the industry association to come across? The more importance of biological agri inputs more into the way that the government is trying to promote organic and natural farming, but also in an effort under PM Pranam to reduce chemical things. But we all know that biologicals are complementary to chemicals. So, I mean, your take on this, sir. Juzar sir, first of you.
I think it was mentioned earlier also. Good afternoon, all of you. It was mentioned earlier that everything has to coexist. You can't have one or the other. If you take our own experience in biostat, we started with biologicals way back in 1988. Only biologicals. But that was not sufficient. We were one of the first to get into this space. But then we soon realized that this is not going to solve all the issues. So we had to get into chemicals and then into many other things as we went along. So the whole idea is that everything has to coexist. And therefore, the associations are there which also represent their own segments, but we all have to work together on this. So, yes, the government is promoting organic production and all that, but I mentioned yesterday in my talk that I think the way forward for organic is to create demand at the front end. If there is a lot more awareness of organic consumption, like it is happening in Europe as we see, then the supply chain will automatically coalesce around it. The problems of accreditation, problems of certification, all that will get resolved if the demand is there. If the demand is not there, then the supply cannot, it will. So it's very important that government also looks at creating demand and awareness of organic food, organic consumption, what have you. And when that happens, especially in India, as I said yesterday, you have a young population which is very receptive to change. We have a large middle class. So all these factors put together, if the demand is created and awareness is there, the entire supply chain ecosystem in our country will coalesce around it. And you'll have far bigger production of organics as we see it today.
Thank you very much, sir. Ravi ji, your take on the whole thing.
Sure. Good afternoon. So I'll just take you back. You will remember that when biologicals were largely unregulated, so CropLife India was the first association to take it up because there were a lot of challenges and states were allowing, some states were allowing, some states were not allowing, and the problem with the administrative machinery was that they neither fell in the Insecticide Act nor the fertilizer. So therefore, there was a lot of confusion. So CropLife was the first one to take it up with the government and said that let's see, I mean, it is important and the benefits are being realized by the farmers. So therefore, they should be regulated. So that was the starting point. And as it developed, as we all know, different countries have adopted it differently. So some countries have considered it as crop protection, under the crop protection. Some are considering it in the fertilizer. We went the fertilizer control way. But having said that, I think it's not either or. So in my opinion, it is if crop protection are required to save crops from the various pests, diseases, weeds, and what you may, biologicals are like supplements. So the crop protection is crop medicine, and biologicals are medicines. And I wouldn't even suggest that there is any silver bullet which will take care of all the challenges that we are facing today. Yes. We are seeing newer and newer pest complex. We are seeing all the climate change having a major impact. We know where we are headed. We don't need a crystal ball to see that our population from 1.4 billion is going to become 1.7 billion in 2050. And all those challenges, including climate, why biologicals has become important in that integrated pest management practices is because of the fact that there are some very good features of sustainable agriculture, regenerative agriculture. So these are the buzzwords wherever you see. Even in the G20 declaration, you have that climate resilience, sustainability, safe food. So all this, in the mix of all this, I think crop protection and biologicals will play a very, very important role and a complementary role to each other. So I'm not sure whether we should look at it differently. Right. And wherever we are saying, I mean, I would say that it's the same things apply, whatever is applying to crop protection products. So with that, I'll
thank you.
Save my opening comments.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Dr. John Peter, if your take, first of all, congratulations in completing 25 years of BIPA.
Oh, thank you very much.
I had the opportunity of being there. Sir, you are one of the oldest biological associations. We at BASAI are relatively younger, quite baby tots, I'll say. But, sir, what is your take with your experience on that part?
There are several associations across the country for different purposes. And as Mr. Khorakiwala has rightly pointed out, each association is having some focus, determination of achieving certain things. But in certain ways, it is getting diluted. So when smaller associations are fighting for some purpose, and holistically, at one particular point of time, there should be a uniformity in the association as well as the focus. So national-wise, there should be some federation for some particular purpose. So in that way, most of the association can be combined to fight for single cause. So this is one. The second one is coming back to BIPA's contribution to biologicals. We have been working for the past 20 years, and the journey is very dynamic, and we have started in a very small way, and slowly we addressed the first regulatory part, especially the CIBRC regulatory part, and we wanted to reduce the moisture, pH, the carrier, then liquid, then we went up to the combination biopesticide. And now we wanted more from CIBRC because things are dynamic, and we need to adapt ourselves. The industry has to adapt ourselves to the changing environment. Say, for example, as I usually point out, crops never envisage department-wise requirement. We compartmentalize based on our convenience. So getting the regulation or licensing department-wise is difficult, state-wise is difficult. So we are trying to break this. And also next, our focus is on biofertilizer, because government, say for example, government has listed azospirillum, astrobacter, rhizobium, phosphobacteria, all the 4 biofertilizer apart from zinc. So in this nitrogen fixing, they have classified only to 4, so including gluconoacetobacter. So there are some bacillus species that are capable of fixing nitrogen. So we are pitching upon them and ask them to include such kind of variable nitrogen fixing bacteria. So like this, several other things are there. It is a continuous journey.
Thank you very much, sir. And I must say that in the past couple of years, all three of our associations, BASAI, CropLife, and BIPA, have worked together immensely, especially wherever biologicals are concerned. And just giving an example to the audience, that the word import was missing in the initial biostimulant gazette. And we reached out to BIPA and CropLife, and BIPA was very much, embedded that no, importer word should also be included in this regard. And that was the kind of support, silent support, I'll say, that we had. And then there was a lot of turmoil going on within the industry at the government level also. And I can recall that Dr. K.C. Ravi reached out and said, what's your take? And the whole organizations were actually prepared to go to the court of law to get things resolved. But I believe, and I'm proud to say, that out of the whole industry, Dr. K.C. Ravi and myself were only two people who were negotiating at various different levels, and we all had the same understanding that the importer word will come across. So we were not in doubt, but it not only brought the importer word also into the legislation, but then we also, I believe we don't get credit for it, but we saved a lot of lakhs of rupees for the advocate fees in that thing. The new Secretary General of CropLife should consider reimbursing a little bit of that to us. We did a good job. So yeah, I also recall that when BASAI was formed, there was an initial case or a concern under the CIB and RC, and we were approached by BIPA, and we said, yeah, we are all in with you, though we had little understanding of that point of time of that particular issue and concern, but we got it resolved thanks to you, sir, and thank you very much. Now, as
one more point.
Yes, sir.
See, we are all working for the common cause.
Yes.
So we are not spurious. So we should be bold. So that is the thing we are focusing.
And that is one thing that now the whole biological industry needs to, especially those who are responsible, who are parts of various associations. I won't say only our three, other associations are also there. Because if they're part of it, they have applied through the regulatory affairs channel to get regulatory compliance. So that means everybody's serious enough. Exactly. Yeah, there are ifs and buts, this is too expensive a data, or this thing may or not be required. We have our differences, but again, we are on the same platform. My next question is a very plain, simple one. Basically, I would like you to highlight the kind of concerns within your own domain in crop protection or in crop production under the FCO or in the Insecticides Act. Where do you feel that there are certain gaps? Like, just giving an example, there's a lot of rumors and hue and cry coming across the HS code for imports and then there's all biostimulants and all, be it microbial or not. And then in the microbial, we also have that live microbials are not being allowed to be imported. So that's a different thing. Then there is certain concerns on the GST. Then sample imports. There are also concerns now growing across whether there should be export guidelines to go across in this regard, because what was traditionally being done under the FCO now cannot be followed in that regard, since now toxicology is also involved in various biologicals. So Juzar Sahab, starting with you again, if anything you'd like to highlight on GST, taxation, or anything on biologicals.
Not on taxation or GST, but it involves all this.
Yeah.
Is a question of which I had discussed in some other forum, other association, was adulteration, mislabeling, and spurious, whatever we call it. I think that is across all industries. It's not only pertaining to our agrochemical sector. It is there in pharmaceuticals. It is there in FMCG. There is any brand or anything that becomes very big has its own trailers, if you may call it, which are. See, one of the things that we need to understand is that we should not, as an association or as company, go public with it. The moment you go public with it, that we have 20% adulterated products, 30% adulterated products, it makes the consumer very scary. It makes the consumers don't know all this, right? The lay consumers really don't know what is a good product and what is not a good product. So the moment associations or corporates talk about it on a public platform, the consumers become aware of it, and it is not good for the industry. These issues has to be handled within this forum of people who are sitting in this forum, or with the government on a one-to-one basis. Well, that's a real problem. We are not trying to wish it away, but this has to be handled in a very, very proper manner, so that the people who are involved in such activities are taken to task in a proper manner, but not going public. Yeah. Well, this has been discussed in some other associations where people tend to go public with this whole thing. That in our industry, 30-40% is adulterated, mislabeled, or substandard products. It does the industry no good image. You are only spoiling the image of the industry rather than strengthening the image. So I think there's one thing I would like to mention in this forum here, that wherever possible, let's not go public with it, but let us handle it seriously at the government level or at an association level. If you find our own association members are indulging in it, please come with a strong hand. Let's not worry about other consequences, because this is not helping the industry. I mean, this is one thing I would like to.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you. It's just like, we need to not add more fuel to the fire and then coming across. Dr. Ravi, your take.
Yeah, so you raised many micro issues. At the end of the day, what we want is equip the farmers with a wider toolkit, and biologicals play a very important role in that. And fundamentally, we have to ensure that our farmers get the latest products, whether it is CP, crop protection, or biologicals, in the least amount of time. So whatever we bring here, and related issue is spurious and other things that you mentioned. And I think the first and foremost thing is that a time-bound registration is absolutely essential at the central level. And of course, the related issues when you go to the states and sales and all of that. So that is fundamentally time-bound registration is absolute must, as is in agrochemicals. Similarly, it has to be a predictable, science-based, risk-based policy regime. So it could involve everything from how scientific we are and how the robust, of course, we are talking about living organisms and all of that. So I think that has to be given, the bioefficacy, the all of the other aspects on how safe it is and all of that. So I think that is at the central level. And education at the farmer level is also very, very critical. As we know, it is the same, the 3 R's, the right use, right way, right time. So this has to be emphasized, and as an industry body, we should take that seriously on how we are giving the government the confidence that we are we are responsible for safe and responsible use of our products. And of course, these kind of smaller issues will keep coming. The import issue, GST, procedural and all of that has to be tackled. But first of all, we have to ensure that the regulatory mechanism is in such that you get the products in the least amount of time. And I don't know what is the time frame. I guess there are pending registrations for a long time and all of that. So those issues need, and we can give the government a little bit of leeway in the sense that they are also learning. And once that learning curve is over, I think we should absolutely emphasize on a predictable science-based regulatory and policy regime for the biostimulants, biologicals.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ravi. Dr. Peter?
The thing is, my first request to the government would be the policy change. Whenever there is a policy change, and it should be industry friendly. And if it is going to be industry friendly, then government has to invite the industry before forming a policy. And if not industry, the association, respective associations. So most of the time this is not happening in our country. So if that is prioritized, then our most of our problem can also be resolved. And another angle, if you think, academia. So they do, especially microbials or whatsoever it is, they do in a smaller level, and there may not be any good downstreaming process and other things. They keep some guideline, and that guideline we need to achieve that specification. All those things is going to be hell a lot of problem, because we will be concentrating on the volume as well as the quality. So academia also should be in a position to get educated how the industry works. So right now we are also getting associated with the several academical institutions, so that they are seeing the magnitude of how the industry works, so that at least they will understand what is the requirement of the industry. So because most of the policies, academia is playing a major role. So academic people should understand what is the industry requirement. So government, industry, academia, and government. So this is the 3-step for us to get the work done in a smoother way. So probably we have to pitch on that in the near future.
Yeah, thank you very much, sir. As far as academia is concerned, I do agree. Academicians are being involved in policy frameworks. They're being taken up across as consultants or members of various committees, and they are not actually aware of. And normally, the industry gets calls from them that you please explain us the kind of thing. And when it depends upon the mindset and the belief of that person, what he wants to communicate across in there. And this is being seen in the recent current scenario also, that the government is confused, that one person comes and say from one organization this has to be done, and the other contradicts that thing, and the third one is probably mediocre. You may or you may not do that kind of stuff. So that's
No, I think
Yes, sir.
more importantly, more we talk to each other. I think all the associations have to, like to your point on one association says something, but the classic case was during the imports restriction. We didn't have credible information to be given to the government, and at most times it was well thought through, and they were asking questions, and we were scampering to get all that data that is required. So that is really important. And all of us are, you said, common members. We have international best practices, we have international benchmarks. I think getting that communication within and as well as with the government, there has to be, and everyone realizes that you cannot do one without the other. So you need all of it together in the IPM and other strategies. So I think that's very important to clear the communications both internally as well as to the government, and bring all those people who are concerned together to properly take it forward. Yes, they have to be consulted. I definitely agree. And as we are seeing, I mean, we are getting the rightful place in the government meetings and others. So I think it's a different ministry now. So therefore, it becomes even more important for us to keep communicating and bringing both those ministries also, agriculture as well as the so I think
Sir, you'd like to add something? Juzar sir, you want to add something? Okay.
Only
So, I
one
mean,
thing is
please.
regarding this import you were mentioning about import of microbes and other things. Very recently we had BIPA had a meeting with National Biodiversity Board Chairman, and we can also consult him, because he said there are no restriction on part of National Biodiversity Board. The restriction will be other department, not NBA.
Right, sir. Right. And
I think the most of the stakeholders, if you see, would be common. I mean,
obviously.
it'll be like NBA and access and benefit sharing, and all of that will keep coming as the industry advances. So we should be prepared for that.
Right. If I may share an experience on behalf of BASAI, there were two set of organizations being formed in, I mean, a kind of mindset being developed in the ministry. One was the SME and the MSME sector, and one was, the multinationals or the big boys club, what we were being referred to at that point of time. And I am proud to say that all of us got together. In fact, there was this national biostimulant industry forum also that was formed, which was having 8 associations within its amble. But last year we managed to have 2 industry consultative meetings, and we actually, and in one, even the regulators were present. The joint secretary INM was also there, and we were able to iron out at least 60% of our differences. And if you look at the draft guidance document that is being circulated amongst the whole entire stakeholder spectrum, it reflects on those kind of issues where we have given our consent, where we have tried to mild things down, and everybody has understand that why unnecessarily go into the whole issue. That was one thing that already came across. My next, I'll just like to seek your opinion as association heads. What are the 2 or 3 issues that you look upon working together that need to be in considered, irrespective of the fact that someone is a smaller player or a larger player, or is having a different kind of mindset in that regard? But what are the 2-3 issues that you may feel that we need to work together upon? John Peter, may I take it from you now today?
One aspect is the penetration of the market. Penetration of the market. India, though it is a huge country, and we are divided state-wise, and each state is becoming, on the regulatory part, each state is becoming a separate country. So the penetrating the market for the smaller companies is becoming very difficult. And as far as the biological is concerned, say for example, whether it is Kurkure or Coca-Cola, whatsoever the eatables, so even the remote villages, they are available. When we want to promote biological, now leave about the remote villages, even in the cities or the district headquarters, it is becoming difficult. So those companies that are having wide network can shoulder this responsibility and take it forward across India as a social cause. Because what we need is penetrating the market with a good molecule. Because ultimately, the farmer should get benefit out of these products. What way we are going is different. Vehicle could be different, but the objective should be the farmer should get benefit. Soil health and the plant health needs to be improved. So we need the responsible big companies to come forward and take this responsibility and move forward. And also, it is not going to affect their revenue part, because the profit margin is good, though it is slow moving, and the recognition by from the farmer is there. So this is one part I just wanted to.
Dr. Ravi?
No, I get, like I said earlier also, knowledge and handholding the farmer is most essential, and in that we can play an important role by coming together as associations. And whether it is, what is IPM? I mean, there is a very dire need to make people understand, farmers understand, government stakeholders understand, state level understanding of what it all means and how it has to be used. And I think there is a great need for associations to come together to clarify on these kind of issues. And as Khorakiwala sir had also mentioned earlier about the whole spurious thing.
Yeah.
We need to actually differentiate. We are all facing a major flack because of the fact that there is no definition of what is spurious. whether it is misbranding or whether, so they just say that, okay, sampling, and they mention, but it is a real problem in the industry. We all know that we are all facing duplicate products.
Yes.
The packaging and everything else looks fantastic, but what is in it is, we all know what it is. So therefore, it is an issue, but the way that it's being highlighted without proper definition of what is what is actually causing the problem. We should not be saying percentages, 25%, 58%, 20, we don't need to do that, but we should acknowledge that it is a problem like in other industries.
Right.
And what steps are we taking, whether it is traceability or whether it is whatever it is. So we have to strengthen the government's hand and at the same time give them confidence that we are bringing in the best products and we are not compromising on quality.
Right, so thank you, sir.
I'll give a live example of what I said about this adulteration and all that. I was at a recent meeting with the Commerce Minister Piyush Goyal, and in Maharashtra they are bringing a seeds bill which is thought to criminalize
with bootleggers and gundas.
So I made an appeal to the minister saying that you are criminalizing the whole thing, and the Prime Minister's vision is that to decriminalize as many laws as possible in the context of ease of doing business. And his immediate reaction was that you people are doing all these things.
Exactly.
Now, where does it come from? If a minister tells you in a public forum like this that you guys are doing all this, means that he has been fed information from public sources that all seed companies are selling substandard seeds, which is certainly not the fact. Otherwise, how would you have agriculture in India in the first place?
Yeah.
Now, you see, this kind of a perception that goes around when we go public with all these things. It happens in every country. It's not only in India, but we are a pluralistic country, a democratic country. We can speak what we want, but we should not. We should understand this issue very clearly, as how we conduct ourselves in terms of these kind of issues.
Thank you very much, sir, for being here. And this was one example probably I missed out on, which all organizations have come together on those. If I'm not wrong, there were 4 bills published by the Maharashtrian government, which created hue and cry, and everybody came together. So that hand-holding is need-based, right? And but what we need to do is to be more proactive and try to foresee what new thing is going to come across.
Yeah. So one of the issues is to strengthen the government's hand in bringing proactive regulation.
Yes.
Which helps in the ease of doing business, not limiting the, as an example, I'm saying QR code, for instance. Now, if QR code is well implemented, it's expensive. Now, a smaller company will say, how can we do it?
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that you should not do it. See, because that brings in traceability of your products. Right from the raw material stage up to the end of the consumer. Now, these are laws which are very good, and the association should strengthen the hands of the government in making sure this gets implemented in a proper way, which brings in ease of doing business as well, not bringing barriers to the whole thing. So I think these are ways which associations can help in bringing in better governance in the industry itself.
I believe we also need the support of the government, because if I take a live example of the biostimulant regulation coming across, we had one joint secretary who helped frame out the initial legislation. When it came to implementation, there was another joint secretary, and by the time he got a little bit into it, we had a third joint secretary. So this also comes across, and also to come across, we have also gone past 3 agriculture commissioners in this regard. Dr. S.K. Malhotra, and then Dr. A.N. Singh was there for a short time, and now we've got Dr. P.K. Singh. There are differences within the technocrats and the bureaucrats, I'll say, and at times the administrator takes a larger chunk of the pie in implementing such kind of things. I would just like to draw your attention to 2 things I like to just place across, and if all 3 of you agree upon. With the recent introduction of drones, right? And there is interim notification wherein saying that all the existing pesticides, be it botanicals or microbials or chemical ones, they have a certain leverage of time period in which they can generate data on the efficacy on through the application of drones, because that is one very major important thing you're coming across. I don't know, but in the case of biologicals, right? I mean, everybody tends to say that it's still a niche market and all. And if I take a precedence of the tricantanol case, where the association developed a data package, because these are very well regulated within the Insecticides Act, and there's no way that chemical composition can be here and there. So is it in some way, I'm not sure how many companies are generating data already for drones in the biological phase, but haven't given the opportunity. What is your take on whether a collective data on those parameters can be come across, so that as well as, I mean, I won't say that reduce the time frame, but the time frame is going to be the same, but the cost of generating data and the benefits evolving out of it come across. And the other set of idea is that, you know, pesticides are generally considered as hazardous material. So their packaging cannot be reused, cannot be recycled, right? And all that kind of stuff. Whereas in the fertilizer controller, I don't know how many of you have actually taken note of it, but the fertilizer packagings are considered to be safe and can be used wherever they want to use it. And there's no restriction, there's no complaint across the country by farmers or from NGOs or anybody. So talking biologicals, is it possible that we can also approach the regulator stating that biopesticides under the Insecticides Act, though under the Insecticides Act and a subcategory of pesticides, but should not be considered as hazardous because they contain the same contents which are used as biopesticides or biostimulants. So on these two, short examples, I'd like to have your opinions on that part. Ravi, if you'd like to take.
Yeah, so good you mentioned. I was going to say that digitization, drones, AI and everything is going to be across, cutting across. So we should be thinking about these aspects as well. And as you know, CLI was the first association again to help the government in drafting the drone policy and the regulations and things like that. So they took a lot of inputs. So I think it's a great idea to come together on these aspects. On your second question, I don't think India is unique in the sense that in the plastic waste management, they have classified it under hazardous, but in other countries, we are working towards that. They are reusable, they are used for road building, they are used in other, and that is where we are. And we are saying that with the application rates and the advancements that have taken place in crop protection, they are no longer, I mean, triple rinsing and piercing is good enough to make it reusable and recyclable. So that is the aim with which we are moving.
My point was that in the FCO,
I know
that they're being openly reused and things like that. So why can't that?
Absolutely. So I was coming to that.
Complement the to avoid single use.
Yes.
Of the package.
Yeah. So I think yes, we should, and I think at the end of the day, we should not be again viewing. Yes, it is hazardous, but the toxicity and the application rates and all of that have come to such negligible levels that, I can only say about the unfortunate exposure incident which happened in 2017 in Maharashtra.
Yeah.
So there were blue triangle products which were being put in the dock and said that. So we said that the new molecules never come out with any, antidotes. They say that it is symptomatic treatment.
Yes.
So it's as good as like if it is irritating your eye, wash your eyes. If you are not able to breathe, go and take him to a airy place. So that is the kind of things that we are looking at, and we all know what actually happened in Maharashtra. It was a concoction of all kinds of chemicals which became lethal, and you have to take adequate precautions. So that in nowhere we are saying that without PPE or without adequate precautions you should start spraying. They were not reading the labels and leaflets. So all these are important. But to again be with the mindset that, like, that's why I said the premise itself is that integrated pest management, and we need all kinds of technologies, and each of us are investing. Unfortunately, I keep repeating this, each of our companies spend billions in R&D. So, but still they think that we are mixing chemicals by hand in shady shacks and we are bringing the products. So unfortunately, that's the image. So we all have to work towards that. And this is also part of the whole process. So I think, yes, good idea to keep pressing, but ultimately we need to ensure that these are also reusable. And
Thank you. Dr. Peter.
Regarding this drone, I use some common sense of mine in this. See, basically, the spray fluid determination is important in terms of dispersal of active ingredient in any kind of pesticides. And CABRC also is very keen on measuring the liters per hectare level, like that. So usually some of the pesticides are having phytotoxicity effect. So we test it as X, 2X, 3X, and what is the phytotoxicity level appearing on the crop. Drone is using such a less spray fluid quantity. And when we want to deliver this active ingredient with the less spray fluid, it is a challenge. Not all the pesticides can come into the picture. So government should not right now give a blanket permission. The data generation is required, that some kind of rechecking is required in terms of application of pesticides through the drone. Though the technology is useful to the farming community, and the adverse effect may happen at later part. This is one part. The second part is, you have also mentioned about the biopesticides. So again, biopesticides, if it is a liquid formulation, there should not be any problem. None of the biopesticides are phytotoxic. So there are no issues. When coming to the powder formulation, most of the powder formulations are with a less CFU count of 2 into 10 to the power of 6 or 1 into 10 to the power of 8, like that. So, but the volume of spray will be 10 gram, 5 gram. So, instead of CAB can take the leverage, this is only, I am not recommending anything like that. It is only a science behind this. Instead of 2 into 10 to the power of 6, if CAB is accepting 2 into 10 to the power of 7 and reduce 1,000 gram per acre to 100 gram per acre, still companies can formulate and give. So instead of checking, rechecking, validating, data generating, all these things, the dose active ingredient can be increased. That kind of thing we have to check with the CABRC.
Yeah, right. Sir, would you like to add upon this? No. Okay. Okay, and so, anything you'd like to add upon just to communicate about biologics? Because, I mean, as far as drones was concerned, the only thing was that there's now a legal liability on us to generate data to prove that the application of drones is, apt. So for that we need to generate data. Yeah. And most of the time what happens is that when the time frame goes across, then we start wakening up. And then we start asking for extensions. So for all those of you who blame the government that we are getting extension out of extension on biostimulants, please let's look into ourselves. Probably we are also one of the reasons why it's facing that kind of situation?
See, one of the questions I have, really just a question rather than is the use of AI, generative AI, which is now talked about, and that's going to be really, we'll be faced with in the next 5 to 10 years. This is going to impact agriculture in a, people are now talking of synthetic biology, where you can develop molecules through AI. You don't have to actually go to the lab and figure out what molecules will work or will not work. This applies across the spectrum of agrochemicals or pharmaceuticals or XYZ. And this is something which I've been reading a lot recently, and it's going to impact us in next 5 to 10 years. It's not going to happen 20, 30 years from now. It's going to happen in 5 or 10 years. This artificial intelligence. We are already seeing deep fakes. We are already seeing a lot of stuff going on, and it's going to impact our industry, be it in our registration process, that will be taken over by AI as well. So, these things are going to happen, and I think all of us should be sensitized to this whole issue of artificial intelligence as it will impact our industry in particular.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you, gentlemen, for a very lively session. I believe we've taken 15 minutes. Yes, sir, please do.
See, we talked of government regulations, and so one point which we missed, which I have been pushing with you, in the fertilizer control order, since biostimulants are known to be covered under FCO law. So there is a standard sampling testing procedure. And the right to appeal has been withdrawn. So I think it's a very serious matter which the biostimulant, because they have not yet faced the music. So, and it should, right to under FCO has been withdrawn. So I think all the associations sitting active and push to the government and the right to give advice. If there was a difference, large disparity between the two test reports, then so I think everybody should get concerned and take it up on the specifications done. Please get this done.
I can assure you, sir, we result from the Nutrient Society. There's certain parts, but yes, I did study the FCO and appellate authority, as mentioned, as it is in the insecticides. There's a state appellate authority, they've got to set it up, but that has got nothing to do with us retail. I mean, so this is
I wanted to spurious and things. We are basically a nutrient micronutrient. Some 40 years ago, when micronutrients were initially, subsequently it's a nutrient. So there are a lot of spurious material came, and we as an association of micronutrient manufacturers, we came up with this idea that the only way you can, attack a spurious material is by providing good quality material. So we as an association work across the country and offer to the government and people that our association will underwrite all the members that they will provide good quality material. So I think for biostimulant also, eventually the association should have some kind of certification, registration for the member, and in case a member suffers, the association should support. We did that and we were very successful in that micronutrient. And thankfully now in the country we don't hear much spurious micronutrients as much as biostimulant.
Thank you very much,
That's an
sir.
experience, from there.
Thank you very much for the suggestion. We'll take it under advice. It's extremely important. Thank you, gentlemen, for gracing the occasion. May I request Juzar Khorakiwala to present a memorandum to Dr. K.C. Ravi, Chairperson of India. And sir, one to Dr. John Peter, Vice President BIPA. And if I may request Dr. K.C. Ravi and Dr. Peter to give a moment of
Pleasure.
Juzar Khorakiwala.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. Thank you very much.